spitball to get Christina's attention. Should I wait for Christina or just call it to order?
I'll just say we'd like to get the meeting started.
Pardon?
I'll just say we'd like to get the meeting started.
Hi, thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for attending. We'd like to get our meeting started. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending our Site Plan Review Committee meeting. We have one item on our agenda, and that's the application of site plan approval at 470 Crossland Gate. Present with us today from Council, we have Councillor Bazans, Councillor Broom-Plumley, Councillor Sponga, Councillor Hempin, Regional Councillor Taylor, Councillor Twinney, Councillor Kerwin, and Mayor Van Bynen. If I can ask the staff present to introduce themselves, please.
Mr. Chair, my name is Rick Nethery. I'm the Director of Planning. We have Linda Travis, Senior Planner. Megan White is planner, and she's helping you with your buttons today. And we've got the CAO, Bob Shelton. Kim Pelham is helping us with some minutes, and Chris Ann is getting the Chris Ann Finnerty is getting the streaming underway, and Peter Nohammer.
Thank you very much. And perhaps from Maryville Development, if you can let us know who's here from your group today.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Bay. Myself, Joanne Barnett, Vice President. The planner for the file, Richard Zelinka from Zelinka Priamo, and Mark Inglis, our landscape architect from York.
Okay, thank you very much. Since we only have one item on the agenda, we can ask someone from Maryville to come up if you have a presentation. I'd also like to thank members of the public for attending too.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. First of all, my name is Richard Zelinka. I'm the planning consultant for Mariannville Developments. And we were before this committee back in January of this year, made a presentation with regard to Block 159, the site plan approval for the townhouse block at the north end of the subdivision at Crossland Gate and Alex Donor Drive. At that time, the committee referred the matter for the holding of a public information center, which happened at the end of February of this year, and public comments were received at that time and subsequently by letter or by forms being filled out by members of the public, and those were returned to the planning staff. And we did have the opportunity of looking at those and addressing those, providing some answers. Of course, at the meeting, there were a lot of questions and issues that related to the broader subdivision, not necessarily just to Block 159. And the focus of the meeting was to be the site plan approval for Block 159. The questions and issues that were relating to Block 159, we did provide answers to, and I believe those have been included with your agenda package. Our hope today is that the committee will provide approval in principle and refer the matter to staff for full processing. Mr. Chairman, I'm in the hands of the committee if you would like me to review the presentation made last time. Otherwise, I could simply point out a couple of small changes that were made to the plan as a result of the comments that were received prior to this date.
Okay, I'll ask our committee members. We all seem fairly familiar with this plan. Would you like the plan repeated or just highlight the changes? Highlight? Okay. All right. The consensus for highlighting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll just run through this is basically the presentation that you saw in January, Block 159, and the 74 townhouse units remembering that 9 of the buildings are 2-story buildings, and 4 of them, the ones that are actually facing Alex Donor and Crossland Gate, are the 3-story townhouse buildings. And interior to this is a central amenity area. That was the site plan. The key things that have been changed on this plan, and I'll hope that the cursor will be able to, yes, okay. One of the, in response to one of the comments, we have moved the 2 visitor parking spaces that were closest to Alex Donor Drive. We've moved them further away from Alex Donor Drive. And in the southwest part of the site, we've added a hammerhead to facilitate turning movements on this end of the internal driveway system. Those are the only 2 changes to the site plan that have been made to this point, and we expect that any further detailed changes would be done through the staff review of the plan.
Are there any questions from members of council? Councillor Bazans?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Mr. Zelenka, for that. I was very impressed by the fact that we had over 40 people from the community attend the Public Information Center, so obviously there is a lot of interest, and notwithstanding your comment about the fact that some people were looking for the broader plan of subdivision and to understand, you know, the entirety of the plan as opposed to just Block 159. There were a lot of questions, and I think you'll agree, a lot of very good and valid questions coming from the residents with respect to the development. So my first question is perhaps more to staff, given that you've indicated you've made 2 small changes as a result of the input, but we did get a number of written comments as well as comments made at the PIC. So I would just be interested, Mr. Chair, in perhaps hearing from staff, and for the benefit of the people from the community and the residents, what is the process now to consider the input that's been received, some of the questions and concerns, as staff now reviews the finer details of the subdivision, or of the site plan?
Just one moment. Okay, never mind.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if, for example, committee were inclined to approve this in principle today, it would be referred to staff for a full and complete review at all levels. So that includes the technical engineering approval or review, as well as that of the building department, as well as that of the planning and other interested agencies. So those matters that were identified that were relevant to the specific site plan application would be reviewed to ensure that that it complies with all requirements of the zoning bylaw and any of the conditions of engineering approval. So that's pretty much it. I think we have seen, for example, that there is adequate parking in the context of what the bylaw calls for visitor guest parking, as well as that required for the normal tenancies. So the review of that from a zoning bylaw perspective is what will assist us in terms of determining whether or not there are any other special requirements that need to be developed.
Okay. And so would that include also looking at the tree plan, and because that was another area of concern, the tree plan, the amount of amenity space, green space, and so forth? So
sure. Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct, and I should have mentioned that as well, that certainly a landscaping plan will be a requirement. It's a normal and usual requirement to ensure that that the appropriate species of trees and so on, and they've got a very responsible landscape architect in Mr. Inglis there, and so I think we can rely on that, and that, of course, will be peer reviewed by your own staff.
And another question, if I may. In Mr. Zelenka, in your response to Ms. Barnett, you indicate that a construction management plan, including Block 159, has been prepared. Can you just explain to me who's prepared that construction management plan? Is it a plan for the entire subdivision and including Block 159? And if so, is it available, or is just the part plan available?
Mr. Chairman, through you, the construction management plan has been prepared by Cole Engineering, and this is intended to assist with the coordination of the development, and will also include the notification of residents when there's going to be any kind of disruption because of the installation of services, for example. So that's a normal part of the plan of subdivision process, and will detail construction routes and things like that. I believe it is publicly available once it's been approved. I believe it's being reviewed at this point in time.
Okay, thank you. So perhaps that's a question to staff, Mr. Chairman. Is that plan, what's the stage of that plan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I need to check with engineering to see. It is a usual requirement, and it's one that's identified through the site plan agreement to require one. So if the plan has been prepared, then it will need to be peer reviewed internally by the municipality to ensure that the appropriate requirements are being met. And sure, once it's done, we'd be happy to let that be made available to the residents.
Okay, so it's not complete at this point.
I'd need to confirm that
Okay,
for you.
thank
and
you.
I just don't know off the top.
That's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Just a few quick questions. First one I'm pretty sure I know the answer to, but I just want to be certain that what we're dealing with today in site plan approving is what's in front of us on the screen right now, because one of the maps we have says subject land, and there's an outline on blue on the left and an outline on blue on the map, and I just want to double check, but what we're dealing with is this, what's in front of us on the screen at this moment.
The Chair to Regional Councillor Taylor, that's correct. What we are dealing with today is Block 159 as shown on the screen. The location map, our GIS mapping hasn't caught up with the new subdivision layout, so that's why you see a discrepancy there.
Okay, thank you. Remind me of the snow removal again. How is that being handled on site?
I'm
Or
sorry.
not snow removal, sorry, just dealing with snow. Snow storage, snow.
Yes, there are
Management?
snow storage areas that have been provided within the site.
Okay.
And every site needs to have such areas. So they've been provided in the overall design of the site.
Do we know them off the top of our heads here, or can we point to them, or?
I don't think I can.
Mr. Chairman, we normally, the snow removal is private here, and we don't normally store the snow on site. We remove it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks. And you might, I'm just curious about the entrance area or feature area that when you're coming in from Davis. And I like the idea that you've kind of kept that open space between the two units. It's kind of in direct sight line. It's a nicer visual feature for residents coming in. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you're anticipating that to, is that, well, I'll be more specific. Is there any entrance signage or a welcome to Glenway community signage of any sort? And is there any possibility, or would it impede? I just noticed that there's more room at either end of the two, row 7 and 10 has some room at the end. Would it be feasible to widen that slightly and encroach on those areas, or is that difficult to do? Because I really like the intent there and what it achieves, and it is a major entrance to the whole community, and just wondering if that either can be expanded upon a little, and if there's any signage that was contemplated.
Well, interestingly, Mr. Chairman, we were advised that the town of Newmarket doesn't permit entry features.
Oh,
So we have, I can have Mark detail the intent of this for you. if you'd like to understand it a bit better, perhaps you should do that, Mark. But there is no structure.
There's no structure or
Presently.
signage, and
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
and I assume staff can comment later, but I assume that's because we're worried about the operational upkeep over the years? Is that the issue? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm the landscape architect for the project, and our intent for that, Councillor Taylor, was to create a viewscape into the space rather than having just a block of buildings. And so this opening was made as generous as we could to allow a landscape view into the property. So the intent is that at the terminus of that view will be a very significant tree, and it will be framed by other plants in front of it. So that was the intent of this viewscape that would be off of the Crossland Gate entrance. Mm-hmm. There are no physical or built features at this location except for an ornamental metal fence along the frontage. Okay. With gates entering into the individual residence.
Okay. So I guess what I'd just like to put for thought is the, I recognizing now that the movement of the parking spots does constrain the east side somewhat. But if there was a way to find a few feet or several feet on either side that would even widen that a bit more, and I'm not trying to be critical because I actually think it's an excellent idea and an excellent design, just trying to think, is there an opportunity to enhance it even a little? And then I guess I would suggest that a conversation with our staff and ourselves, I mean, I'm aware that there are members of council this past term that have looked to sort of reestablish or improve entrance features to some of our communities in town. And if we're going to revisit it later, why not do it now and then maybe even assume the maintenance of that ourselves in some capacity through an easement. But I think it would be nice to sort of have a very modest, low level sort of community welcoming feature, or the community of Glenway or something. But this is, sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I can intercede then, there is an entrance feature proposed into the subdivision at the confluence of Davis Drive and Crossland Gate.
Okay.
But that is not part of this Block 159.
Okay.
And our intent was to establish it as and it's at this location, okay, and replace what is there currently, which is deteriorating, and fit into the theme that we established with the urban design guidelines.
Okay, that's helpful. Good, thank you. Then I just leave you with the thought that if there's, and I don't think this is, I'm just throwing an idea, but if there was an opportunity to look at it and see if there's some room there to expand that as you come in, because I think it's a very attractive feature, and I think it would only be added to. My other question is the amenity space itself. And I think we've had this conversation before, and I apologize, but is that contemplated at this point to have actual play equipment, or is that through either staff or, because I suspect there's going to be quite a number of families in this area.
Mr. Chair, there is a playground proposed at this location, right, okay, and it is part of the private space. It is, okay, of this development.
Okay. What's your sense on the ability to widen that feature a few feet on either side? Is it feasible, or is it very difficult?
Well, it's interesting you started to talk about features, and the architects took those two buildings and said they are part of that entrance scape. And so there is architectural guidelines suggesting that they be a different character to identify entry.
Okay. And which is great, but to my question, just curious, do you think there's any possibility is there any room there to add feet to either side, or not really?
We pushed as landscape architects that there be an opening at all at that location, okay, and the architects lost one of the units to accommodate that request. And I
don't mean in terms of units. I'm just thinking if on the
we're tight, either end. And you can see that with the new parking stalls that Mr.
that's
Zelinka identified. So we have a fairly short distance between. And I don't think we can move there.
Okay, well, do you mind having a look at it and seeing if there's a angled parking solution or something that could possibly be considered there?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We do have some members of the public here with us today. I'd like to invite members of the public if they have any questions or if they have any comments. Okay. We have one. If I can just ask you, oh, sorry, yeah, provide your name and address, and you're about to do that.
My name is Keith West. I live at 311 Brimson Drive.
Thank you.
I do want to just reflect on the comments that Regional Councillor Taylor has just made. I like the idea of having the access into the community differentiated in terms of what people see when they are coming in. I like the concept that they have done. My comment would be, this is a medium density site. I think that the town staff have determined whether or not it's conformed to that medium density designation. I think that's correct, if I'm not mistaken. Whether it's 73 or 74 units, I still think that it would meet the requirements for the density. And I like the idea of having a wider space. I think if you look at the dimensions, if I remember correctly, it's about 30 feet wide. Not a lot. I could be mistaken on that. I understand that might be different, but I just wonder whether or not we have to, I just wanted to support Councillor Taylor's comments about that a wider space on that kind of an entrance would really make a much nicer space, I think, in terms of coming into the community. And we've conveyed that before previously in our verbal discussions at the community meeting, and like I said, I want to leave the impression I like the concept. I just think it could be wider, and I think it could be more differentiated than what it currently is.
Thank you. Okay. There being no more. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Please come up.
Hi, thanks. Dave Sovereign, 323 Crossland Gate. Very quick comment, and it's more directed towards staff. And that was at the last public meeting that we had with staff and council, that we have as a community an opportunity to look at the construction management plan prior to its final form, as opposed to being shown it once it was completed. I just wanted to make sure, because it wasn't clear to me from the discussion earlier this afternoon that was going to be the case or not. As you know, there's a lot of construction issues and complexities, I'm sure, that will be involving this community as we move forward, and we've already had negative experiences from the feedback we've heard about what was taking place at the McGregor farm, and we want to ensure that we attempt to manage this as carefully as possible. So if we could see that plan and input on it prior to its approval as opposed to following its approval, that'd be much appreciated, as was agreed upon, I believe, at our public meeting. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Councillor Bay. I wonder, Mr. Chair, if we could have Mrs. Barnett come forward, because I believe that there's been some discussion and dialogue as to how the construction process might be managed, and establishment of a committee. So it would be good for, I think, the entire group to have an understanding of that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The construction management plan was included with the original engineering submission in October 2014. And my understanding of the Planning Act is that anyone can view that at the counter by coming and asking for it. So it has been available to the public since October 2014. We are about to make today our third engineering submission, which has refinements of the construction management plan based on our discussions with Councillor Bazance and Councillor Taylor and our own review of the logistics of the subdivision. And the intent is obviously to orient everything toward Davis Drive. I have also agreed that the residents, through a committee of any composition that is suitable to the town, and Councillor Bazance can, that I will meet with them regularly, and that they are certainly welcome to have input on the construction management plan, because it is something that impacts them directly. So there is no intent to take any shortcuts here. We intend to work closely with Councillor Bazance, with staff and with the community to make sure that the construction process here is not any more disruptive than it requires to be. But this development can be serviced and dealt with for the most part through Davis Drive, and it should not be intrusive to the community. But people who live there see things that we don't see, and input will be welcome. So that I hope the committee will be struck, and if it's struck quickly, we'd be happy to go through the version of the community or the construction management plan that we're submitting today with that committee at any time.
Thank you. Not seeing any more questions or any more comments from our audience. I need a motion to receive the presentation and the comments from.
I'll make that motion that we receive the presentation and the comments.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Bazance. All those in favor? Thank you. Now we require another motion. Approval in principle and to be referred to staff.
I'll make that motion.
Councillor Kerwin? Yes. Yes. Okay. Mayor Van Bynen. All those in favor? There not being any other business, if we can have a motion to adjourn.
I'll move that.
Councillor Sponga. Second. All those in favor? Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation and attendance today.